So just found out they're forcing us to hook up to the grid. As you know, Carolyn and I live off grid in a little tiny house. We've got 12 solar panels, gives us 1,200 watts of electricity per hour. I just made them more efficient. I put a new charge controller on it. And now I'm getting all the electricity out of them that I'm making. One charge controller was only allowing me to put 25 amps into the batteries, whereas 2 charge controllers allow me to put 25 amps and 25 amps. So I'm getting a total of 50 amps into the batteries. Well, more than that actually, but right now it's 50 amps. A little bit cloudy. But the thing is we don't use a lot of electricity. We use enough electricity to power a freezer, a small freezer, a tablet, 2 cell phones, and a few fans. Sometimes we charge a lantern, a little battery operated lantern. The thing that makes this entire thing work is the batteries. Batteries make the whole system work. Well, I mean, all of it makes the system work, but batteries is pretty fundamental that some people, I don't think, quite understand. I'm going to get into this a little bit. So I use 8 12-volt marine RV batteries that you can buy at Walmart. They're lead acid, and this gives me 800 amps. 12 volts, 800 amps. Now, one of the batteries is only 75 amps, so it's actually 775, but that's neither here nor there. Now, I've hooked them all up. You can see here, positive, 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 and then on the other side, negative, 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 negative. I guess that's vice versa, but regardless, you get the idea. They're all hooked up. So each one is 100 amps, but when I hook them all up, it's 800 amps, like that. And then I take that electricity from the batteries, and I run it through this inverter. An inverter changes DC electric, car electric, 12-volt car electric, into house electric. And you can see the little plug in there. I would imagine you can see that, but it's just a standard house plug. That is particular inverter is 1,000 watts, which isn't really pertinent to the conversation too terribly much today. I also have another inverter. This one's 2,000 watts. This one runs things like the well pump. If I run this big one all the time, it takes 2 amps, whether there's electricity going through it or not, just to have it on, 2 amps per hour. Well, if I run it 24 hours, that's one entire battery, because you can only use 50 amps of a battery. But again, not really pertinent to the subject. So I run the smaller one for regular household things, and then when I run the well and the air conditioner, Carolyn's son was using the air conditioner, so we was using that for the air conditioner also. The way I charge the batteries is I got these charge controllers. I told you this right here. There's another one also right here. So this takes the electricity from the solar panels, manipulates it a little bit, not a big deal on all that information, and then puts it into the batteries. And when the batteries are charged, the charge controller shuts off, maintains the batteries at a full charge state. So really, you can look at these similar to a battery charger that you will buy at Walmart. Those battery chargers probably cost 50 bucks, 75 bucks. I have 2 of them. And these battery chargers charge at 25 amps, 10 amps, and 2 amps. Both of them do. So I can hook both of these battery chargers up at the same time to the batteries, and I can get a total of 50 amps, which is basically the same amount that my solar panels can produce. A little bit, my solar panels can do a little bit more. So on cloudy days, or if I'm doing something crazy, I can start the generator, and I can start these battery chargers up, charge the batteries. I can also just unplug the house from the inverter here, and I can hook it directly into the generator. But I never, ever, ever do that. So when we were nomads, I've told you this in the past, that we traveled around the country. We started out in a pop-up camper, and then we transitioned into a truck camper that we built for the back of the truck. And I had a very similar setup. I had 2 batteries, an inverter, but I did not have solar panels or a charge controller. I had battery chargers. So the way I did it in the camper is I would run the generator 8 hours a day, 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening. And the only thing the generator was powering was the battery charger. Now, I don't want to make this too complicated. I would also unplug the house, the camper, the pop-up camper, whatever, and plug it in the generator. That way I could just get a more efficient charge into the batteries. So at the time the generator was running, it was powering a battery charger and, let's say, a refrigerator. If I'd have left the refrigerator plugged into the inverter, the batteries would have never gotten topped off because the refrigerator would have kept pulling from it. Now, the solar panels can adjust for that problem, the charge controllers. But the battery chargers were never designed to do that. The battery charger is designed to charge your battery in the car. So it just made sense to unplug the camper from the inverter and plug it into the generator. But you didn't have to. It's just what I did. Just so I could get a nice clean charge each time. So I would, in the morning, start the generator, run it for about 4 hours to charge the battery, and then stop the generator, plug the house or the camper back into the inverter, run the house off the batteries, no generator running, until about 5 o'clock in the evening. Then I would start the generator up and do it again until about 9 o'clock, shut it off, and then throughout the night I would run the house off the inverter and the batteries. A lot of people don't understand that concept. That is the most efficient way, if you're not going to have solar panels, to run a generator, is to charge the batteries. If you're charging batteries and running it off an inverter, although there's a little bit more cost involved, you don't have to run your generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The generator, the big generators, the industrial strength generators, the ones you see at work sites, really are not designed to do that. But these inverter generators, they can run for a good long time. And they run at 25% power, and as long as you are running it below 25% power, they'll last forever. I had a 2,000 watt up there that lasted 8,000 hours. It was forever. We had it for like, what, 4 years? Ran it almost every day. We buy an inverter generator. Now, an inverter generator basically works just like this inverter. It takes DC electric, changes it into AC electric. Although I've said that I'm going to move this up to the well house, so if the shed ever catches on fire, this doesn't burn up with it, but I haven't done it yet. I got to clean out the shed. But you'll see right here, inverter generator. Now this is a propane dual fuel generator. You can get gasoline. A while back this was on sale for I think just $400. But now they're back up on price. But if you watch sales, they come down on price every now and then. What's so fascinating about these is it takes electricity from the engine. So it works similar to your lawnmower. Your lawnmower spins around and it has a little magnet on the flywheel, and every time it goes around it hits another magnet or something. I forget exactly what it does, but it makes a charge and it sends that electricity to the battery, recharges the battery. This does the same thing. It takes a little piece of energy, and instead of sending it into a battery, it sends it into an inverter, similar to what I showed you in the shed here. And that inverter now is producing AC electric, house electric. And it's much more efficient. Some people will go buy those industrial strength generators. They're like 4,000 watts, 5,000 watt generators. They're huge. And those run just on a AC generator. So it literally turns a generator. Let's say your generator isn't working properly. It goes, and there's something wrong with the carburetor. The electric in your house on those big generators will also surge. The generator can only produce the same amount of electric that the engine is allowing it to produce. This one, however, it doesn't matter if it's surging. It will take the lowest amount of electricity that this thing can produce at the low point. So when you're at the low point, it takes that electricity, inverts it into AC electricity, and it's nice, clean, 60 hertz electricity. So there's none of this surging in the electric because the generator's surging. Not that that's important. If your generator's not running properly, you should get it fixed anyways, but this just tells you that this is very clean electric. But the big thing about those big generators is they use a ton of gasoline. So this generator uses about 1 gallon of gasoline every 11 hours. I figured it up, and if my math is correct, that is 1/10 of a gallon every hour. It's like 0.09 of a gallon every hour. Very little gasoline. Now this one up here, it's 1,500 watts. That one's 2,500 watts, but this one up here is 1,500 watts, and it actually uses less gas than that. And so when you're running your battery charger, there's no heavy loads on it, so this thing is not ramping up. It's just at 25% or less, and it's just running, and it's running that battery charger, and you're charging your batteries. And when your batteries are charged, and then you can run your house off the batteries. Now the thing is those big generators, they run at full speed all the time. Well, at least 50% speed, maybe is the best way to put it, all the time. And they're much, much bigger. So this one produces 2,500 watts. So let's look at a 5,000 watt, 4,700 watt generator. They use about 3.4 gallons of gas every hour. So this one uses a fraction of a gallon every hour. That one uses about 3.5 gallons an hour, that big one. Now, what I see people doing is they run their air conditioners off of it. Especially these campsites, they run their campsite air conditioner. I gotta go in the shade, otherwise my camera will overheat. So you're running a generator full blast to run your air conditioner, which cycles on and off. So it runs for 15 minutes, shuts off, but that generator's still running. It's still producing electric. You may not be using electric, but it's producing it. So then the air conditioner kicks back on and it's running full blast. You're gonna run 3.5 gallons of gas every hour, even if your air conditioner shuts off for a half hour, 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off. So every hour, half hour is off. What you're gonna get out of a tank of gas that holds 5 gallons, these big generators hold 5 gallons, you're gonna get 16 hours out of that. Now think about that. I can get 24 hours on 2 gallons of gas on my generator. Big difference, huge cost. So I'm trying to understand the purpose of nomads, people who travel, or even maybe people off grid, buying these big generators, because if you run it 24 hours a day, you will end up paying more for electric, putting gas into it, than if you just hooked up to the grid. I did math. My math may be a little bit off. It also depends on gas prices. So let's just call it $400 to $500. I think I came up $516 for the gas prices that we got now. I think it was $368. I figured it up. Don't quote me. I'm sure somebody's got their calculator quoting. But let's just call it $500 is what it costs to run a full-size generator, 5,000 watt generator. That would power your entire house roughly. Your refrigerator, your air conditioner, maybe not your central air conditioner, but definitely those huge window air conditioners, your camper air conditioner, it would run all that. But you're wasting a ton of gas. In order to make this more manageable, there's 2 things you could do. Charge your batteries and run off batteries a portion of the day. The problem is if you're wanting to run the air conditioner, this is why Carolyn and I don't use the air conditioner. We've gotten adjusted to the temperature really well, this heat. So we don't even try to run it. We went into a yard sale. It was actually in a building. The 3-family yard sale was in a building. They must have had that house, that building, whatever it was, at 68 degrees. It was downright cold in there. It was just cold. If you're going to live this way, I would highly recommend that you figure out a way to run your air conditioner in a more efficient way. Now, these little generators, the one I just showed you, the Champion 2,500 watt, it can run a 5,000 BTU air conditioner. That is the small air conditioner. You go to Walmart, it's the smallest one in Walmart. So if you closed off your whole house and just air conditioned one room, it'd be a lot better than trying to run your RV air conditioner or a full-size air conditioner. And it can do it. Now, again, you're going to be ramping up the RPMs on that generator, so you won't get 11 hours off a gallon of gas. You may get 8, but it's still a lot cheaper than that big one, because remember, you're making 5,000 watts on that big one, but you may only be using 2,000, so you're producing so much more electric than what you need. And the nice thing about the inverter, it only uses the electric that is needed. So let's say it can produce 2,500 watts, but you're only needing 1,000 watts. It will ramp up on speed using more gas, but it's not full speed. It adjusts based on usage. That's what's so nice about the inverters. Now you can get big inverters. You can get the 4,500 watt inverters at Harbor Freight. My understanding is they don't last very long, which is another downside to those big generators. They run so hard and so fast is they only last about 900 to 1,000 hours, and then they die on you. Whereas this, like I said, the inverter, as long as you're running it easy, you're not running at full speed all the time, they will last longer. So it doesn't make any sense to run your off-grid or your nomadic life off one of these big generators all the time, because you could go rent a house, spend $300 on electric each month for your air conditioner, your central air conditioner, or $500 a month to run that big generator. I would recommend trying to figure out a way to get less air conditioning or no air conditioning. So if you can click this next box to take you to a video where I was talking about the tiny house and had to kick Carolyn out of it. So hope I can inspire you to think efficiently when you're thinking about your electric, when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.